morning and welcome to Coffee and Sports. It's the morning show powered by Wire to Wire Network. I am Chris, and of course, that over there, that is Mo. Mo, I leave for a little bit, and the intro turns into an Eagles highlight. I don't know what's going on with that.
Yeah, there's been a little reconstruction going on, but it's all good.
Had a little something over there. I was like, why are we getting all these Eagle highlights over here on the intro? That's okay. That's okay. Mo, I have missed you. It is great to be back with you this morning, partner. I want to start with this, Mo. When you have a relationship, and it's great, right? You have the peak years, and it does. Every relationship has them. Even relationships that don't end, they have the peak years. But when relationships come to an end, Mo, oftentimes we look back at the peak years, and people want to take credit for how much they were responsible for those peak years. And when the relationship ended, then it kind of turns into who was more responsible for the greatness that was the relationship? And that's what we're seeing right now with Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft. These two old timers cannot get out of each other's way, Mo, and just let the greatness be the greatness, which, by the way, Tom Brady. All right. I want to say that right now. Tom Brady. That's the guy that I think should be taking credit for the majority of this greatness. Nothing against Coach Bill. He was part of that. But we got these two going back and forth again. Robert Kraft goes on some podcasts with Julian Edelman and Rob Gronkowski, and he basically says, Mo, I took a really big risk hiring Bill. He didn't have a lot of coaching experience. His previous head coaching run, not that good. I took a big risk. I'm the one that, saw it. I saw it, Mo, and I said, let's ride with Bill. Okay. And then Bill has to respond. And Bill says, you took a big risk. I took the big risk. I had people telling me not to take the Patriots job. I had people telling me that internally it was going to be a struggle every step along the way because of the internal structure of the New England Patriots. I had players, I had coaches, I had former coaches telling me, Bill, you don't want to go there. It isn't going to be a good time because of the way that organization is run. Dear God, Mo, why do we care? Why do we care about who took why are they still talking about each other? The Patriots have a second-year quarterback in Drake May, who we're going to rank the quarterbacks by division later on in the show today. But he's got an uphill climb, I would say. I think that's fair. Robert Kraft is coming off of what I call a debacle in firing his first-year head coach the way that he did. And you're looking at a New England Patriots team this season that maybe can compete for a wild card, optimistically, if you're optimistic, and maybe that's it. And then Bill, he's over in college. He's got an optimistic outlook with his new squad. I don't think they're national champion optimistic, but not to mention the fact he's got the lady running around doing the nonsense that they got to focus on what they have in front of them, Mo, and not what's behind them, in my opinion.
I feel like you bring up a great point. Both of these guys, they're both living off of their former cachet, right? And it shouldn't be this long debate about who took the risk. I like what you said. Just let the greatness be the greatness. It's not like the Patriots were a dynamo before Bill Belichick got there. They weren't. And you're right. Look, I think Tom Brady should get the lion's share of the credit, even though you could say in the early years it was Belichick and his defense that kind of carried them. But when Brady became the system, it was Brady. And what made Kraft the great owner was he just stayed out the way. He stayed out the way, which is those are the best owners. I don't know why they have to take shots at each other. Like you said, when the relationships end, can you just say that we were great together and let it stand on that? And then you've both moved on. And you're right. Since Brady left, since Belichick left, the Patriots are trying to do a rebuild. And I'm with you. The Gerard Mayo year as a head coach, when they hired him, the first thing I said is, I hope they're not setting him up for failure, because the cupboard was bare. He took the job because obviously you want the opportunity, but weak offensive line, no run game, nothing special on the outside, and the quarterback position is up for grabs. And not surprisingly, they had the year that they had, but I think if you hire a rookie coach knowing what you're doing, you got to give the guy at least 3 to 5 years. You have to let him implement a system, let him develop along with the players that you're drafting to develop. And they bailed on Mayo with the quickness. And I thought that was disappointing.
Well, to get the guy they always wanted.
True. Now, that's facts.
Right? I mean, let's be honest. That was the guy they wanted originally, but for whatever reason, that never came to fruition.
So they settled on Mayo.
Right?
That's what it came down to. They settled on Mayo. But look, if you were going to do that, even Mayo's still one of your guys, couldn't you've done something to where he could have stayed part of the staff or something, right? You could have done something to make that look a little bit better, make that transition seem a little bit smoother, but they decided to go another route. Anyway, I digress. My point is, I'm with you. Stand on the greatness and just leave it there.
Speaking of greatness, Major League Baseball All-Star Weekend last night, Mo. I'll admit, I didn't watch much of it. I caught the home run. I caught the end of the home run derby. I think that MLB dropped the ball at the end of the home run derby, having the inches decide as opposed to going to a showdown to decide it. And then they corrected that mistake in the All-Star game because the All-Star game ended with a home run showdown, which was absolutely fantastic. However, for me, Mo, the greatest thing that I saw in All-Star Weekend was the Hank Aaron remembrance that they did. I think it was after the 6th inning with recreating the moment when he became the home run king, the projection onto the field, the firework that was the traveling path of the whole thing. I thought the whole thing was spectacular. And I had never seen anything like that outside. I've seen like the NBA stuff with the courts. I've seen that stuff before. But to see it done on a baseball diamond, the way that it was done with the theatrics of it all, for me, that right there was the highlight of the entire thing as far as I'm concerned. And I'm a baseball fan. The game was fine. 6-6, the way it ended was cool. But that stood out to me. And that's something I was still thinking about the day after. But Mo, the talking point the day after is this. Where were some of the big stars for that home run showdown? Oh, they weren't there. They left.
They bounced.
They had early dinner reservations. The wives and the kids were in town. All the home run leaders, Ohtani, Judge, Cal Raleigh, none of them were available for this home run showdown. Thank goodness for the NL. Schwartz was there, and he did his thing. So I saw the outcry this morning, Mo, of how could they leave? We could have had Ohtani and Judge or Ohtani and Raleigh. Well, I don't care. Clearly it wasn't against the rules. Clearly this happens year over year, and the only reason we are making a big deal out of it now is because we noticed. We just didn't notice before. So for me, Mo, I don't care if they left. If MLB wants them to stay, make it a rule. They have to stay. But when you're going through this whole thing and you know you're only going to play an inning or two, and you've already been there for all of All-Star Weekend, which a lot of these guys have, what are we sticking around for? I had no issue with them leaving.
As a fan, I guess I would have liked to have the opportunity to see Ohtani in the home run. It would have been
cool.
It would have been cool. Not that it didn't end up being great anyway. But I'm with you. I didn't lose my mind over the fact that they bounced. And it ended up being spectacular minus them. They missed out. You know what I mean? Like
they did miss out.
They missed out.
It could have been a moment.
Right. It could have been a moment. It was spectacular without them. And I enjoyed it fully. And I'm with you. The Hank Aaron, the way they did that so well. Sometimes when you do these kind of things, there could be a little hiccups here and there. I thought it was done to perfection. His widow was there. There was a picture taken with the backdrop where she's overseeing the stadium and watching the fireworks. And that was an amazing shot. And to me, that was moving. That was the biggest moment, bigger than anything over the All-Star Weekend for me. That moment, it kind of gave you chills. It was a strong moment. If you're going to do something like that, that's the way it should be done. That was done perfectly.
And for me as a baseball fan, I've never seen that. I've never seen the live call. I've never seen the footage of him doing it. So for me, that was something that I saw for the first time. And then with all the other theatrics, tracing hit the footpath he took around the bases, the speed at which he jogged it, like it was the nuance to how this was put together. And like you said, we have technology to do these amazing things, but sometimes crap happens and things don't go off perfectly, and there's little snafus here and there. Nothing like that last night with that. It was literally flawless, absolutely flawless over this weekend with that, Mo. So very impressed.
Well done, MLB. Well done.
Next time, tell Ohtani and Judge they can't go home. That's all.
Yeah.
Like, you guys got to stick around just in case. Just in case it's tied. You guys got to break it. Just saying. Mo, we do this all the time. And by we, I mean people in the sports writing universe. We love to make lists, don't we? Well, Bleacher Report has come out with the definitive greatest 100 NBA players of all time list. We're just going to go through the top 20. Basically, so we can get a flavor of what's outside the top 10, so we can really criticize what is or is not inside the top 10.
Sure.
So let me run through 20 through 16 for you. Julius Erving was 20th. David Robinson was 19. Dirk was 18. Joker is 17. And KG is 16. Any issue with Joker already be considered top 20?
No, I think he should be. I'm fine with that. And I if I was going to change anything, I probably wouldn't have Doc at 20. I would have him a little further up, because he's got a Finals MVP. He's got a couple of MVP, not a Finals MVP, but he's won multiple MVPs. He's got a championship, and as good as Dirk is, as good as Robinson is, Doc is iconic. They're great, but he's one of the iconic players in NBA history.
15 is Jerry West. 14 is Oscar Robinson. 13 is KD. How do we feel about KD at 13?
I think it's a good spot for him. I would have had him somewhere in the top 15, top 20. So I think 13 is fine. The interesting thing about him being 13, if he's 13 now, he's probably going to be 13 forever. You know what I mean? Like he's not going to do anything that's going to elevate him up from 13.
Does another championship move him? A championship without the Warriors?
Yeah, if he was to win a championship and he was the guy, right? As I think the Rockets are counting on, sure, that would make a big difference. But that's a lot of pressure, right? That's the whole thing. Because life outside of being the Warriors, swept twice and didn't even make the playoffs last year. Those are just his last three postseason or two postseasons and not even making the postseason. I'm just saying it'd be nice to see him go on a deep run, but if he could do that, could it elevate him? Absolutely.
Number 12 is Hakeem. Number 11 is Kobe. Kobe not in the top 10.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't understand that. We talked about this a little bit yesterday. I don't understand that. The funny thing is that before his passing, rest in peace, most of us, we had him top 10, right? And the only debate was where you had him top 10. And I think I had him somewhere in the middle, around 6 or somewhere in that range. And then you get the other people that are a little extreme and go, he's top 2 or 3. And I can't go that far, but to not have him in the top 10 at all, that's crazy to me. That's great. And so this is what I said on the show. I'll say it again. I said, if you don't have room for both he and Shaquille O'Neal in the top 10, then Shaq should be in number 11 and Kobe should be in the top 10. And people go crazy when I said that. But think about this. What was Shaq outside of the three-peat?
A lot of potential in Orlando.
Sure, but what did he do in Orlando? He just came up short. He was a ton of potential. And then after the three-peat, what did he do? Well, he wasn't even the best player on the team that won the title. And then like, he didn't do. He wasn't after the three-peat.
He was there for the title in Miami.
Right. So again, I think that we put a lot on that three-peat for Shaquille O'Neal.
Number 10 is Steph.
Deserving. We always say, look, you're the one that brought it to my attention, and I thought about it. 100% right part. I remember you saying this. The guy changed the game. Just on that alone, there shouldn't even be a conversation why he's in the top 10.
Wilt is 9, Bird is 8, Duncan is 7.
I'm good with Duncan where he is. I'm a big Tim Duncan fan. Wilt should be in the top 10, obviously because of the video game numbers alone.
Then we got Shaq at 6. We already talked about Shaq and Kobe. And then the top 5 goes Russell, Magic, Kareem, setting up, obviously, who we know who the top 2 are. In this case, Jordan's on top of LeBron. Any issue with the Russell, Magic, Kareem heading up to the top 2?
Bill Russell is the hardest person to rank in the top 10, which is weird, right? Because he's the guy with the 11 rings. And the argument will be, well, what was special about Bill Russell? He never averaged 20 points a game. He played with a bunch of Hall of Famers. He wasn't the Celtics leading scorer, but I don't think anybody ever doubted who the Celtics leader was. Who was the focal point of that team. So I'm not one of those people that are going to kill Bill Russell I'm going to kill him for winning 11 rings. I can't do that. Like if Wilt's in there because of his video game numbers, how do I not take the guy that's got a championship for every finger?
You know, guys like LeBron, they don't understand this ring chasing stuff, you know. So
except when you keep going from team to team to chase rings, but sure. I get it.
Yeah, you know, so it's LeBron, you know, he doesn't get it. He doesn't get it,
Mo. I know he doesn't believe in it. Sure. Wow.
All right, Mo, let's talk a little wrestling. Obviously, the WWE world was shaken up with the injury to Seth freaking Rollins. Not the best time when Seth is literally involved in almost every major storyline that is happening on WWE programming right now. We saw the pivot take place on Monday. CM Punk is getting the nod at SummerSlam to go against Gunther. And then we have the new big dog, the new ruler of the yard. Paul Heyman pulled out all the former monikers from his previous clients. He called Braun the next big thing. Obviously, Braun is going to be the center focus, it looks like, of that group for the time being, while they kind of figure out what they are going to do without Seth Rollins. It's tough. It's tough because he was, I mean, if you just trace the dots, Mo, he's got the Punk thing. He's got the Roman thing. He's with Heyman. He's got Money in the Bank. He's chasing the world's title. There is supposedly going to be a fourth member to this group. He has literally got his fingerprints on every major storyline that is happening right now. And because he has Money in the Bank, you're in the back of your mind, you're like, well, even though he's not really messing with Gunther, could he just come out and cash in? Even though you're thinking about it, like, because he could. Now, obviously, not going to happen. He does have until June by, rules of Money in the Bank to take care of that. So depending on how, he could only be out. We don't know. I haven't seen anything news-wise. It could be a few months. It could be longer. We'll see what happens. But it's going to be interesting watching the storylines progress forward without him. Now, that doesn't mean that he won't be on TV. Depending on what he needs and surgery and all that stuff, he could be back in a, non-action role. We don't know. We've seen superstars get injured and, they just get pushed around the wheelchair or they're just sitting back. You know what I mean? Like, it could be that kind of thing where he's still a presence on TV, just not in a physical capacity. So we'll see what that looks like. But I wanted to bring this up, Mo. We've talked about AEW before. I've never in my life been like, I want to watch AEW. Probably great wrestling over there. I wouldn't know. I've never watched it once in my life. I almost did. I legitimately wanted to see Toni Storm and Mercedes Moné. I wanted to. I even tried to find it. I don't even know how to watch AEW, so I couldn't find it.
I watched it.
I had to watch a bootleg version on YouTube afterwards. And Toni Storm might be the greatest thing in pro wrestling right now. I know it's blasphemous to say that, especially as a WWE fan. And by the way, what she does would never work in WWE. I do not believe that for a second. I would not want to see her come to WWE. I don't think what she does would translate across promotions. I think that what she's doing in AEW with Tony Khan at the helm, with that company being where that company is and not where WWE is, it works. And it's a gold mine. And I'm not a huge Mercedes fan, but the match was superb, Mo. Absolutely amazing.
You took the words out of my mouth. Like, I think that match is in line with any match that I've seen recently, including even I thought Rhea and Io was amazing, but Toni Storm, watch the Toni Storm Mercedes Moné match. It's as good, if not better, but it's as good. And you're right, Toni Storm is as good I won't say female wrestler, just as good a wrestler that's out there right now. And the character that she's developed, it's all her. That's her being her. And I love it. And you're right, that character wouldn't work in WWE. And I'm a WWE fan like you are, but she's amazing. Like, she can be a main event easily. I've seen 2 of her main event matches, and she's not disappointed me once. And I've always liked Mercedes Moné, but I think that she's gotten better as an in-ring talent. And maybe it helps when you're in the ring with somebody like Toni Storm, but I think they make each other better. AEW as a whole, do I watch it on a regular basis? I don't. But what I will say is this. When we just recently had, I think, Saturday's night main event for WWE, they had the next event. They went up against those AEW pay-per-views, man, and they got hung an L. AEW just put on more entertaining content. Evolution, I thought it kind of saved WWE. They needed that. Those ladies went out and did their thing. It was amazing.
A show that wasn't promoted.
Right.
On a show that you kept forgetting was even happening because it was barely talked about on TV. The fact, and this is not a testament to WWE. This is a testament to the female superstars that were on Evolution. Top to bottom, that card was fantastic. And every match showed out. I never felt watching Evolution 2 that there was stuff that shouldn't have been there. I didn't think anything was filler. Even the matches that, I would have said were second tier were still entertaining matches. Like Tiffany and Trish, it wasn't the greatest thing, but I was entertained by it. I will say this, though. Tiffany needs to turn heel. This face crap, it's terrible. It's not working. It's not working as a face. They need to turn her heel. Hopefully they do that sooner rather than later. The main event was fantastic. The Naomi cash-in was fantastic. Hats off to the women of WWE, because again, you look at Evolution 1 and the pomp and the circumstance that went into that event, and then you look at the lead up to Evolution 2, and it wasn't close. And I don't know why. I don't know what the plan was there for that. But it wasn't. It wasn't nearly the same. But the quality of matches across the board was out of this world. So I'm super happy about that. Let's talk about Bill Goldberg. Bill Goldberg is officially retired. He got his final match against Gunther, which he lost for the World Heavyweight Championship. I didn't think it was a terrible showing for Bill. He's been nursing a knee injury, which we know. We see him hobble to the ring, so we knew he had a knee thing going on. The man he's 60, he's pushing 60. He's right around the 60 range. To see him in that shape and get in there, and I'm gonna sound like I have nothing against Goldberg. I'm gonna sound like I do here in a minute, but I think that a lot of that had to do with Goldberg's opponent making that match what it was.
Agreed.
And again, Goldberg, you take a look at what Goldberg is, and you look at what he did in WCW. Goldberg as a performer is a pro wrestling icon. All right. Goldberg as an athlete, out of this world. Goldberg as an in-ring technician, never has been. You want to talk about John Cena and the 5 moves of doom, Goldberg has like 3. And that's basically all he had to do in WCW. And then he came to WWE, and he had a very rough WWE run the first time around. And in my opinion, it's because they asked him to have longer matches. They put him in there with guys like Rock and Jericho and Triple H, and they gave him a little world title run. And he had to do more than, snort, blow smoke, kick the pyro, clothesline, spear, jackhammer, gone in 35 seconds. He had to actually have matches, which he never had to do his entire career in WCW. And then you see Goldberg come back to WWE later on as an older performer, and he beats Brock Lesnar in a very quick match, right? Where he hits a couple of spears. Shocking. It was a moment, but again, it wasn't really a match per se. So coming into this, you have to look at it and say, we're going to get from Goldberg what we've got from Goldberg his entire career. And props to Bill Goldberg for being able to make a 20-plus year career on doing what he's doing. Like, I take nothing away from Bill. He is what he is. And given what he was, Mo, I thought it was fairly entertaining. I never thought he was going to win the match, but I never sat there during the match being like, can we just end this? Can we just scrape Bill? Like, I didn't have that moment. And I thought I might. I thought I might have a moment where I was just like, come on, just wrap it up. Like, Goldberg's not going to win. And I didn't. I thought it was kind of crappy that they cut off his retirement speech at the end there.
That was bad.
That was rough. But the match itself, it was decent.
So I found myself at times going, all right, hurry up and end this. But I thought what made the match a solid match was that Gunther sold it. He sold it. And I didn't know Gunther could do that because, normally he's the more of the alpha, the more dominant performer. And he had to sell that, Goldberg still has all this power, and he did a good job of selling that. And so that made it a match, a legitimate match. So hats off to him for doing that. And look, I get it. A guy that's done what Goldberg has done and had the career he's had with like you said, limited to no technical skills at all. Hats off to him. It to be 176-0 coming into that match, that's amazing. But like you said, most of those matches were like 5 minutes or less. He didn't wrestle long.
60 seconds.
I remember watching him in WCW. Like, they looked like Mike Tyson early boxing matches. They didn't get out the first round. So I get it. So I accepted the match. I'm good with that. What I didn't like was the guy was trying to shout out the people that loved him, that supported him, and they cut him off. That was classless.
Yeah, Goldberg spoke about that. I think it was yesterday morning. He did some interviews. For a guy that's done, he can say whatever he wants to say. He was pretty PG about it. He said that he wished things were different. He was upset that, they cut off his retirement speech. He talked about how, and basically the 6-month build to this, because that's basically what it was from the initial interaction with Gunther to the Saturday night main events. He did 3 interviews, 3 media stops between then and Saturday night, which I thought was a little ridiculous. I see the other side of it too. and I hate to say this, but he is a WCW guy. Maybe that played a role in it. I don't know. Backstage politics. We know that Goldberg isn't always the easiest person to get along with. Maybe that played a role in it. I don't know. But I think it was nice that WWE gave him the opportunity. I think it was nice that he got to do it in Atlanta, Georgia. And I think, there's always more to be had, right? There's always things you could have done better. There's always things, if I could have changed this, I would have changed that. There's always those things. I thought the moment was nice. I wish they didn't cut him off at the end. But 20 years, hang him up and ride off into the sunset as a really jacked 58-year-old man.
Super jacked. And he had his family and friends there, his hometown. Like, I thought it was a great turnout. I thought the crowd showed him a lot of love and stuff. So yeah, it was a great send off to a long and impressive career.
Well, I'm going to say this. Can we just leave Dominic Mysterio alone? The man's got a doctor's note, and I'm tired of the harassment of Dirty Dom. He is not cleared to wrestle. Now he's going to be reevaluated on Monday. Leave Dom alone. He's in another love triangle. The number of women that Dirty Dom goes through, man, oh man, I love Dominic Mysterio. I'll admit it. I'm in the fan club. This guy he barely wrestles. He wins championships. He's in big storylines all the time. What a guy Dominic Mysterio is. I'm telling you.
Chris, he's living his best life.
Right?
He's the guy the crowd hates so much that every time he opens his mouth, they don't let him speak. He still carries that kind of heat. He's turned his back on Rhea. It looks like he's going to turn his back on Liv. He hasn't done it yet, but he's going to do it. Dom has no loyalty. Him and Roxanne are going to kick it sooner or later, and eventually he'll turn his back on her.
It's that Latino heat in him. Come on.
Yeah. I'm a Dominic Mysterio fan. Like, I think he found his lane, and I didn't know how soon he would but he found his lane. And I think he's going to be like a really impressive mid-card guy for a while as he develops, and eventually I think he'll take a next step. He'll elevate and be one of the top guys.
He definitely has the charisma for it. So I'm a big fan of Dominic Mysterio. Let's talk a little NFL, Mo. New York Jets making headlines the past 2 days, not for really negative things. They're signing their own players, which I guess is good. You want to keep the stars that you draft. Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson locked up on mega extensions. Let's start with Sauce Gardner. I think this is the easier conversation to have. I think we both agree that Sauce is a top corner in the league. He's now being paid top corner money. I have no issue. I hate the Jets, by the way, but I have no issue with that. If you let Sauce Gardner go and hit the market, he was going to get top corner money with whoever he signed with. So as a New York Jet fan, you want to keep your homegrown players. You want to keep your elite players. And Sauce Gardner might be the best player on your roster. So, yeah, I have no issue with them extending Sauce and giving him a lot of money.
No, he is one of the elite corners, playmakers, and I would say he's their best player. He's their best football player. You did the right thing locking up your best football player. Got no problem with that at all.
Garrett Wilson, on the other hand, I don't think Garrett Wilson is a top wide receiver in this league. I think he's a good wide receiver. I think he has moments where he looks like a one. I think that, if pushed to be a one, which is what he has to be with the Jets, he can be a one. But when you look at the money they gave to Garrett Wilson, you have to start having the conversation of, oh, is he Justin Jefferson? Oh, is he Tyreek Hill? Oh, is he Jamar Chase? And you got to start putting him up there with those names. No, he's not. I don't think he is. I don't think he is a top 10 receiver in the league. I understand you want to lock him up. I understand that, you look at your offense. And again, sometimes I feel like in the NFL, you are a prisoner of what you have, right? And you look around the offense and you're like, oh my God, this is our guy. this is our superstar on offense. I get that, and I agree with you that he is your superstar on offense. But when you pay him like he's a superstar of the position and he's getting money like the other big name wide receivers, now I have an issue with it because he isn't Jamar Chase and he isn't Justin Jefferson. So when you start giving him money that puts him into the ballpark of those receivers, Mo, I look at it and I say, well, shoot, they just overpaid him. How is that going to hurt the team on the back end? Because he just got more money than he should have. He's a good wide receiver, even though I don't like the Jets. He is a good wide receiver. But in my opinion, Mo, he is not an elite wide receiver.
So I look at it from this point of view. Do you think that, like when you say he's a good wide receiver, do you think that's his ceiling, that he'll always just be, he'll be pretty good? Like, is he, I brought up this name yesterday, is he going to have the Amari Cooper kind of career? Is he that guy, or is he better than that guy?
I mean, Amari, take out the injuries. Amari was on track for a good career.
Right. Right, a good career, but I don't know if Amari was ever the best receiver, one of the three best receivers in football.
No.
And so I look at Garrett Wilson like this. He's never had a great quarterback, and he's been productive despite the quarterback play around him. Like he's kind of had the early career of what Larry Fitzgerald had most of his career, like no great quarterback play. And so I think he's a very good wide receiver who has the potential to be a top 10 receiver. Do I know if he'll get there or not? I don't. The real question is, with the quarterback decision that they made this offseason and the investment they made in, will Fields be the guy to unlock him? Because if I were going to judge off of what you did in the quarterback position, I feel like I don't know if Fields is going to help elevate him. I feel like he would elevate Fields by being really good, but I don't know if Fields would elevate him to where he could have a 13 or 1,400 yard season. You know what I mean?
Where would you put Mike Evans?
He's had a great career, but he's never been the best receiver in football.
He has a bunch of 1,000-yard seasons, though.
Consistent, right?
Consistent.
He is. He's consistent. He's consistent.
Could Wilson be a Mike Evans?
Yes. I would argue he could be a Mike Evans with better. I think he has better hands than Mike Evans.
Okay. Again, I like Garrett Wilson, very talented player. But again, if you're going to pay him elite money, you're telling us that you think he's elite. I don't think he's elite. I think he is a great wide receiver, and I think he's going to put up stats. And sure, if you put, Burrow on that team, what could he do? I get it. Like, those are valid questions, but also it's the New York Jets, Mo. When's the last time the New York Jets had a really good quarterback?
Well, they don't do that.
Exactly. No, but, I don't like the Jets, but let's be honest. When's the last time the Jets had a really good quarterback? Because you can say things like, well, Chris, who's throwing in the football? Okay. So when is that going to change? When is that going to get better? When are the Jets going to get a good quarterback? Let's look at the history of the Jets. When's the last time the Jets had a good quarterback? And you have to pause for a minute and be like, oh, damn. It's been a minute since the Jets have had a good quarterback. So if that's the history, why would we not think the future is going to be much of the same of the Jets just not having good quarterbacks? I get it. You have to put the money somewhere. I understand that, Mo. But again, if you're going to give him the elite money and he's not elite, I look at it and say, could you have given him a little less and helped out the other parts of your team that probably need the helping out because you don't have an elite quarterback? And history says you're probably not going to have an elite quarterback anytime in the near future because for some reason the Jets just can't get the quarterback situation right, which, by the way, and I am going to dump on the Jets here. Look at Jet quarterbacks that have left the New York Jets and found success elsewhere. Geno Smith.
Yes.
Sam Darnold.
Yes.
Garbage is what they were in New York, Mo. Garbage. Jets fans hated Geno Smith. Couldn't wait to move on from him. Jets fans hated Sam Darnold, couldn't wait to move on from him. I'm not at the point where I like Zach Wilson yet, even though he's a Dolphin, so I'm not going to say nice things about Zach Wilson quite yet, but they hated Zach Wilson too. Couldn't wait to move on from him. Geno and Darnold went to better organizations, better ran organizations, better coached organizations, and they have found success leading teams later in their careers. They didn't do that with the Jets. So now, Mo, you have to ask yourself as a Jet fan, what is the situation? Is it that we just can't hit on quarterback? Or is it that we get average to above average quarterbacks that we thought were going to be stars, but they're just a little bit below that, and we can't develop them to reach their potential? Because that's what happened with Geno and Sam. They weren't superstar quarterbacks, but they were damn sure serviceable. Ask the Minnesota Vikings. Ask the Seattle Seahawks, because those guys did well there. And now, that's fair, right? That's fair. And now we're moving on. You got Justin Fields there. I don't know what's going to happen. He has all the talent in the world. Didn't quite work out in Pittsburgh. Didn't quite work out in Chicago. We've seen glimpses. But, Mo, why would I think the Jets are going to unlock Justin Fields? What have the Jets done in their history to show you they can unlock any quarterback? Is Mark Sanchez their most successful recent quarterback?
It would have to be him, and then before him, you have to go all the way back to Vinny Testaverde, right?
Or Chad Pennington.
I like Chad Pennington. Those three would be their most successful quarterbacks in recent memory.
That's wild. That is wild.
And really, if you went in the history of the Jets, really, I could start a whole argument, because I could say that guy he wasn't that good. But
and
I'll leave it alone.
Chad Pennington took the Dolphins to a playoff game more recently than he took the Jets to a playoff game. So that's how far back we're going. If we're going to talk about Chad Pennington.
That's a minute.
So, but
I used to like Pennington as a quarterback. You know what I mean? He didn't have a big arm, but he was really efficient. His problem was he just couldn't stay on the field.
Hey, game manager. Chad
I knew it.
Pennington
Look
is a game manager.
We just got a comment. Right. Jets fans think Namath was great enough. Yeah, because he gave them their one and only Super Bowl. But if you look at Joe Namath's career, it was not good.
If Mark Sanchez won a Super Bowl that year, they went to the AFC Championship game. I think they went to 2 AFC Championship games. I could be wrong. They went to at least one. But if they got to a Super Bowl and Mark Sanchez won it as the quarterback, which, by the way, we know it would have been the defense winning that game, not Mark Sanchez.
Right.
But had he done that, Mark Sanchez would be revered in New York. He would be the guy that could get a steak in any restaurant in New York.
Yeah,
that's Namath right now.
Yes.
Like, fans today, they didn't watch Namath play. They just know that he was the guy that brought the championship.
That's what they know.
They're just like, he is the Mecca. You didn't watch. How many current Jet fans know the career of Joe? None of them do.
Right.
None of them.
And that applies to, what's the guy that played for Chicago? Jim McMahon as well, right? Like,
correct.
All you know is Jim McMahon was the quarterback that led the Bears to the Super Bowl and won the Super Bowl title, even though it really was literally all about that defense.
100%. Let's talk about Jaden Daniels. I want to talk about Jaden Daniels the same way we talked about Jordan Love. We as in the NFL, they love to be prisoners of the moments. Coming into last season, it was Jordan Love, right? Jordan Love was in all the top 10 lists. He was in a lot of top 5 lists. And you and I had a similar perspective of, he had a good season. He didn't have an amazing season. And he might regress a little bit in season 2. Let's pump the brakes on calling Jordan Love a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. Well, we have repeated the same pattern with Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels had a terrific rookie season. I am not going to say anything negative about his rookie season, Mo, because it truly was fantastic. Between him passing the football, between him rushing the football, and now we're going into year 2. And he's making all these top 5 lists. And Mo, I look at it and I have to feel the same way I felt about Jordan Love, which is, well, can we hang on for just a moment. Jaden Daniels is a very talented quarterback. I don't think he's going to fall off a cliff in year 2. But you also have to look at what went into the 12-5 record that was the Washington Commanders last season. Well, they played 5 good teams, all right? They lost to 4 of them. They played 5 playoff teams. They lost to 4 of them, and they lost to the Dallas Cowboys. Those were their 5 losses. The only playoff team they beat was the Philadelphia Eagles. They had a great run in the playoffs, not taking anything away from what they accomplished in the playoffs, because I don't think anyone thought they were going to beat the Bucs. And they not only beat the Bucs, they go on, they beat the darling last season, the Detroit Lions. So great playoff run. Daniels had amazing stats. I think he is going to be the quarterback for the foreseeable future in Washington. That being said, Mo, I cannot sit here this morning with you and say that Jaden Daniels is a top 5 quarterback in this league. Can't do it. One season, and you want me to boot people out of the top 5 list that have been doing this for 6, 7, 8 years because he had a really impressive rookie season? I can't do it.
I can't either. And look, people have pointed out he's had the greatest rookie season maybe any quarterback has ever had. I have no problem with that. But the same way that you pointed out that when Love made his run, what happens? They get tape on you and the league adjusts to you. The same way when Stroud came out in rookie year and CJ Stroud put up the monster numbers and we said, that's amazing. That was a great rookie season. Let's see what he does in year 2. Well, the league adjusted to him. And then it's on the player to adjust to the league. And Stroud wasn't nearly as impressive. I think last year he was like 20 touchdowns, 12 picks. That's
he also had no line last year, poor guy.
That's part of it too. And look, I don't think Jaden Daniels' line is that great either, but he just so athletic, he can offset that. But what I will say is, you brought up how they lost to the playoff teams, and look at a lot of the games they won too. They were last-second cardiac kid wins. I don't know if you can live off of that and bank off of that. So
that was my other point is they won 12 games, I believe, and I don't have it in front of me, so someone's probably going to correct me on it. But I believe 9 of their 12 wins or 10 of their 12 wins were one-score games. They had an amazing record in one-score games, which, again, take nothing away from them, Mo. They accomplished that. But we know that doesn't happen every year in the NFL. Very easily, when you go 8-1, 9-1, 10-0 in one-score games one year, you're 5-5 in those games the next year. That's how the ball. That's how the ball bounces.
Correct.
So you look at everything he did with the fact that they didn't beat quality teams until the playoffs, when that was impressive. But during the regular season, they didn't beat playoff teams. They were 1-4 against playoff teams. They won all these really close games. The majority of their games they won were really close games. Okay, fine. Now you go into year 2, their schedule's a little bit harder. They're going to see more playoff teams during the regular season. They're not going to win all those one-score games, most likely. It doesn't usually happen year over year. And when you take all that in consideration, where are we? I mean, Mo, are they winning their division?
No.
So now you're looking at a wild card. Okay. Which, again, that's what they were this season, which is fine. Did they win the division?
I thought the Eagles won the division.
I think the Eagles won the division too. Yeah, the Eagles did win it. So that's fine. They were a wild card this year. They went on a run. I'm not saying they're going to miss the playoffs. All I'm saying, Mo, is you can't put a guy because we do it every year. And then when you have a guy like an Andrew Luck, who I think going into year 2 deserved to be ranked top 5. Like the skill set that Andrew Luck had when he came into the league and what he did with the Colts his first year in the league, that's the kind of quarterback you should look at and say, yeah, this guy is a top 5 quarterback. Like it's all right there. But we do it every year. We did it with CJ Stroud. We did it with Jordan Love. Now we are doing it with Jaden Daniels. Oh, and by the way, if you look at the rankings that came out this year heading into this season, where is Jordan Love? Bottom of the top 10, just outside the top 10. What the hell happened, Mo? He was a top 5 quarterback coming into last season. Well, Chris, his numbers, no, I looked it up, Mo. His numbers were basically identical to what he did during his first full season. His quarterback rating was, I think, 0.3 different. His interceptions were the same. He had like 7 less touchdown passes, but he played 2 less games. His yards were about 700 or 800 less, but he played 2 less games. Had he played the full season last year, he literally would have had almost identical numbers to the year before. But now all of a sudden, he's not viewed as a top 5 quarterback. Why is that? Because he was never a top 5 quarterback, Mo.
Right. And look, so we're clear. I think we're both fans of Jaden Daniels. I know I am.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
But I think that we should pump the brakes on making him a top 5 quarterback based off of the little bit of body of work we had. We got one season. So I'm going to need to see more than the one season. And here's the crazy thing. He could be better this coming season, and they won't have as much team success, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, they could. He could be more efficient, and they could win 8 games. Like, again, combination of a slightly harder schedule. They don't win as many of those close games, and he plays, just a level above where he played this season, and you go from a 12-win team to a 9-win team, and now you're going to look at it and be like, oh, what happened to Jaden? Nothing.
Right.
Nothing happened to him. The same thing that happened to Jordan Love. What happened to Jordan Love? Nothing. You said he was top 5 quarterback. He wasn't. He was a fringe top 10 quarterback, and that's how he played, and that's where you have him this season. Just like if you look at C.J. Stroud coming into this season. C.J. Stroud didn't magically become terrible, but most people have him bottom top 10, top 13-ish range. He was top 5 2 years ago. What happened? Well, his offensive line got terrible. That's one thing. His wide receiver situation is a mess between the Stephon Diggs thing and the injuries. And you combine those things with the fact that the league catches up to you a little bit, and it's not as easy. It doesn't look as easy. The production isn't quite there. Also, by the way, he wasn't a top 5 quarterback, Mo. So that is what happens, and we do it year over year, and we're going to do it again going into next season.
We are.
Cam Ward's going to have a good season, or someone's going to play well, and they're going to be a top 5 quarterback going into next season, and Chris and Mo are going to sit here 1 year from now and be like, nope, this guy's not a top 5 quarterback. Stop saying he is.
You know what they do in all these lists? I don't care if it's Bleacher Report, Sports Illustrated, whoever it is. The one guy that they seem to have consistently in a certain place, Matthew Stafford. Every list has Stafford about 6.
It's
every list, he's 6.
Because they're like, we can't make him top 5, but he's so close to top 5.
Right.
Let's make him 6.
He's unique because you have him 6, but you're saying he's 6 because he could probably beat some of the top 5 guys in a matchup. You know what I mean? Like, he's that close. Like, on a given, if Stafford is upright, your defense is in trouble.
Last thing I want to talk about today, Mo, is Patrick Mahomes. This also happens every season, but the noise around Patrick Mahomes heading into this season, I personally, and again, I'm a Dolphin fan, so I have no stock in Patrick Mahomes or the Kansas City Chiefs, but I personally find it to be blasphemous. Patrick Mahomes is coming off of maybe the greatest 3-year stretch of a starting quarterback in NFL history. He has Super Bowl MVPs. He has league MVPs. He has 3 straight Super Bowl appearances. He has 2 number 1 seeds during that time period. Oh, and by the way, he's beaten everyone that you could argue might be better than him during that stretch. He beat Josh Allen twice. He beat Lamar Jackson. He beat C.J. Stroud. He beat Tua. He beat Justin Lawrence. And I don't know what AFC quarterback you're going to throw out there and say, oh, he could be better than Patrick. Patrick beat him during this 3-year stretch. And not only did he beat him, he outplayed them statistically. If you look at the stats from those games, Patrick was the better quarterback statistically in those games, and the Chiefs won those games. Has his numbers gone down? Yes. Is Patrick Mahomes statistically right now, coming off these last 2 seasons, what he was statistically the previous 2 or 3 seasons? No, he's not. But Mo, we're in this weird paradigm where people are comparing the lesser version of Patrick, which, by the way, the lesser version is Patrick Mahomes 3 straight Super Bowls, Patrick Mahomes beating Josh Allen twice, Patrick Mahomes going on the road and beating Baltimore. This is the lesser version of Patrick Mahomes. So they're taking the lesser version of Patrick Mahomes, which no one can beat, by the way. No one can beat the lesser version of Patrick Mahomes when it counts. And they're using that to prop up their guys. What are we doing? The greater version of Patrick Mahomes, nobody can touch. The lesser version of Patrick Mahomes, nobody can beat. Stop disrespecting Patrick Mahomes by saying things like Lamar's better than him here. Josh is better. No, they're not. I'm sorry, but they're not. And I know that Joe Burrow beat him. And I take nothing away from Joe Burrow, but Joe Burrow hasn't been to the playoffs since 2022. Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson go every single season. And as much as it pains me to say this, if I had to do a quarterback ranking right now, I'd probably put them both ahead of Joe Burrow, because Joe's lost a little oomph. Because what's Joe been doing lately? Like, you got to get, when you're an elite quarterback, Mo, you got to get to the playoffs, right? And you got to win some playoff games. Joe hasn't even been going to the playoffs. Now, I know it's not all his fault. I know he's in a dumpster fire of a team that's poorly ran, and that's not on him. But at the same time, it's the same conversation we have when we talk Hall of Fame and, the penthouse level, right?
Sure.
If you want to be the penthouse of quarterbacks, you gotta do certain things. You need to win your division. You need to put up certain numbers. You need to go to the playoffs. You need to win playoff games. You have to go to conference championships. And every now and then you should probably pop up in a Super Bowl, right? Just some basic things if you want to be the elite of the league. Well, Patrick Mahomes is doing all of those. Now, to the credit of Lamar and Josh Allen, they're winning MVPs. Those are elite quarterbacks. They're winning playoff games, just not against Patrick Mahomes, but they are winning playoff games. They're winning their division. They're doing all those things. But yet they still can't beat Patrick Mahomes, Mo. So, again, I don't like the Chiefs. I don't have anything against them, but I don't love them either. But to sit here and listen to people, and this has been going on like for the past 2 months, and I get it. This is the Chargers year. This is the Broncos year with Bo Nix. How are we going to sit here and say Bo Nix is taking down Patrick Mahomes, Mo? I can't. Yeah, I cannot.
I'm not going to be one of those people to say that.
Bo Nix.
I think if Patrick Mahomes gets competent play from his wide receivers, if his offensive line is just solid, along with the defense that they have with Spags calling the signals, I'm looking at Patrick Mahomes going back to the Super Bowl again, Chris. That's what I think. Like, until somebody
proves it, right?
Proves it, I think Patrick Mahomes is going to be in the Super Bowl again next year, which means he's going to have a shot to win another Super Bowl. And I know, I get it. The numbers are what throw people off, but like you're also pointing out the fact that he knows that he has limited weapons. So because he has limited weapons, he manages the game in a different way. And that, to me, is a skill. Like, I can't get in a shootout, so this is what we're going to do. And I just think that when you're that great and you're on top of the hill like that, for people to always be looking for the next guy, it's almost an insult.
And, like, who's beating him this year? Oh, it's Josh Allen's year. Wasn't it his year the last 3 years? Right. Oh, Lamar's going to do it this year. Lamar's won a pair of MVPs and still hasn't done it. Well, if Burrow gets back to the playoffs, he hasn't been to the playoffs since 2022. Let's go to the next tier. What's the next tier?
The sexy players,
three, right?
What's the next guy? I think the sexy pick this year is the Chargers.
Right.
They think Herbert's gonna knock him off.
Herbert's 0-2 in the playoffs. He has 2 picks and 4 interceptions. And I think he's completing like 49% of his balls in his 2 playoff games. He's the guy. That's the guy that's taking down Pat. I mean, listen, I get it. It's good for sports conversation, right? When someone's on the top of the mountain, you always want to talk about who might take them down. But sometimes, Mo, you have to just appreciate the greatness that you're living in and just look around and say, odds are he's not going to go to 4 straight Super Bowls. That's very hard to do, all right? Very hard to do. Only one other team has done it ever. So the odds of him going to 4 straight, the league is working against him. But at the same time, you can't sit here and say, well, Josh Allen's going to do it. He's beaten Josh in Kansas City. He's beaten Josh in Buffalo. He beat Lamar the year that Lamar had everything working for him, and the Ravens were hands down the best team in the league, and they beat Lamar. Like, I understand that any given Sunday, anything can happen, but I think we've reached the point with Patrick where I ride with Patrick until someone beats him. Do I think eventually someone will? Yes. I don't think Mahomes is going to go to the next 11 Super Bowls. I really don't. But until someone actually beats him, how can I sit here, Mo, and be like, well, it's going to be Josh, or it's going to be Lamar, or it's going to be Joe, based on what? The fact that they haven't done it?
The scary part is if somebody knocks him off, I feel like he'll just be back next year. Do you know what I mean? Like he'll come back the next season and be back in the Super Bowl again. That's the scary part.
And, you know, it's almost Brady-esque, but you also have to remember that Brady and the Patriots had a huge drought in between their Super Bowl appearances. And I don't know if we're going to get that big of a gap with Patrick. I mean, I can see him maybe going a couple of years and not making a Super Bowl appearance. But like you just said, let's say they don't make it this year. Let's say Josh Allen and the Bills finally beat Patrick Mahomes, AFC Championship game. The Bills go to the Super Bowl. What version of Patrick Mahomes do we get the following season? Do we get a hungrier, more, and I'm not saying he's not focused, but do we get an even bigger version of Patrick that wants it even more than he did during the run to 3 and almost 4, that he comes back and the next 2 years he goes again? You know what I mean? Like, I think he has that part of Brady in him, that nuanced competitor, that drive, the focus. It eats at him. He craves it. Like, I think he has that part in him to where he doesn't take this crap for granted. I don't think he does. I think that, you know, he views every season as, I'm the best. I want to prove I'm the best. I'm going to go back to the Super Bowl. And like you just said, I think that when he finally does get knocked off, and it could be this year or next year, or whenever it is, I think he's right back the following year because he just wants it that much more. And I think that's the year, Mo, they also make changes. Because I think the Kansas City Chiefs right now are kind of in a mode of, well, he keeps making it work. Right?
Yes. And so they're not in a rush to go out and get like a superstar wide receiver, right?
Right.
They don't do that, or a 1,500-yard running back. They don't do that. But if they make those changes, then I feel like Patrick Mahomes is going to be really Brady-esque and have a 50-touchdown season. You know what I mean? Like, he's going to remind them, like, oh, I can throw for 4,000 or 5,000 yards. I can do all those things and win a Super Bowl.
Hey, remember when I had Tyreek? I haven't had him. So you give me someone with that skill set, and I'll put up the numbers that I put up when Tyreek was here, because I can do that. I just don't have the people right now to do what me and Tyreek did.
Yeah, like I said, it's impressive to see him grind it out and make it to multiple Super Bowls with good receivers. None of them are special, but good receivers.
All right, Mo, we got about 60 more seconds before we get out of here. I know you can't put it all in 60 seconds, but I want Mo's final thought, his final opinion. When the season begins, is LeBron a Laker?
I think he will be. But for his sake, I hope he's not. He doesn't want to. I feel like he knows they're moving towards the future and he's thinking about right now. So they could do him a solid and maybe work out something where he can go somewhere to a contender. He could go back to Cleveland, where I think part of him has always wanted to go back to Cleveland. I think if he went back there, looking at the way the East is this season, and they didn't have to give up any of the core pieces, I think the Cavs, how could they not be the front runners to come out of the East? And I think that would be a great way to cap off his career if he could take them back to another finals.
How do you go home 3 times?
That is kind of weird Because if it's home, how are you constantly leaving? That's a good point. And I'm not taking shots. You just brought it up, but yeah, that is kind of weird.
LeBron goes home again.
That sounds like an ESPN 30 for 30. LeBron goes home again.
Mo, pleasure as always, sir. Thank you to everyone that was hanging out with us. Close it out, sir.
Thank you guys so much for joining us. Appreciate you, chat. Make sure you check out all the great content we have at Wire to Wire Network. Wire to Wire Network, we appreciate you.
Make sure you're back here, same time, same place tomorrow for another edition of Coffee and Sports. It's the morning show powered by Wire to Wire Network, and we will see you tomorrow.